Hey there, I'm Charlotte Smith with Charlotte Smith Pastured Meats and also Shampooed Creamery. Today I'm going to talk to you about nose to tail eating, which I'm going to also show you a very simple stewed ham hock recipe and with a broth made from pig's feet. The reason this is important is to support your small farmer, you've got to branch out from eating just like, say, the pork chops and the tenderloin and the bacon, and know there are lots of other parts of the pig that a farmer must sell in order to be sustainable. This is super important because over the last 10 years of eating traditional foods, most of the farmers we bought from 10 years ago and even 5 years ago are out of business. So to help your farmer out, I hope you will branch out once in a while and just try something a little different. So today with the stewed ham hocks, this is a ham hock. Surprisingly, they are super meaty. They do have a nice layer of fat around them, and once we get ready to serve the meat, you'll shred the meat and take the fat off. But remember, fat from pastured pigs is the highest source of vitamin D there is, so it's really good to stew it in the fat. Don't be scared of that, so you can get all that vitamin D. This marrow in here kind of just melts into the broth. And also the hock is kind of like the knee of the back leg. So it's that knee portion in there and then all the meat around that. And since our pigs are pastured their whole lives, they are really super meaty. So there's a lot of meat in here. The other thing about nose to tail eating and eating some of these more obscure cuts is they're cheaper. So we've got a special going. They're $4 a pound for both the ham hocks and the pig's feet, which I'll talk about in a minute. And it makes actually a pretty elegant dinner that you wouldn't mind serving for friends. So it's a great way to have an exquisite recipe for dinner and not break the bank either. So super easy, let's get started. Got a couple ham hocks here. You just put them in a stock pot like this, and we're gonna put our vegetables in there. The recipe's down below this video. Smash the garlic. Best way to do that is just use a knife like this. We're gonna strain it afterwards, so don't worry if there's a little skin left on your garlic. Put that in there. And then along with that is just the basic kind of soup ingredients that you would put in a stock. Onions, leeks, celery, carrots, all in there. Some spices that are all listed below. And a couple teaspoons of salt. And I just use a basic sea salt. And lastly, we're going to use our pork stock that I made from pig's feet. I'll show you how in a minute. Beautiful pork stock. Again, inexpensive. We are out of chickens until next summer, so we have lots of pork bones, so it's a great way to continue having that gut healing bone broth because the pork broth tastes really good too as well. And you're gonna use about 4 to 6 cups of broth. So I used about 6 cups right there. And then all you do, again, really simple, you just put it on your stove. You're gonna bring it to a boil just like you would a broth or a soup, a broth basically. Just bring it to a boil, then I'm going to turn it on low and just let it simmer for 2 hours or until you see the ham hocks kind of start to break apart easily. All right, and then I promised you some pig's feet. So please dive in, don't get grossed out by this. To me, this is really beautiful because we devote our lives to raising beautiful, happy animals, all of them, pigs included. So when I get to see that we worked really hard for a whole year and it just turned into things that are healing our customers, it's wonderful. So come pick up a package of pig's feet and have some fun with it. This is what it looks like. This is the front leg of a pig. They've sectioned it off at the butcher. And again, there's actually a lot of meat in there because our pigs are happy running around. There's all this marrow that's going to get into your broth, and this marrow breaks down a little easier than beef marrow. And so what I do is I just, as if these were a package of beef bones or any kind of other bones, I'm just going to put the whole thing in our crock pot right here. So I've got 2 in this leg. Oh, it's just wonderful. I also have people who will buy this pig's feet and bake it in the oven and pull the meat off and eat it. So you can do that too, but I'm just gonna make a broth out of it. So right now I'm gonna fill our crock pot with water. And once we've filled our pot with water, put it in my crock pot, put the lid on, I'm gonna turn it on the high, and what happens is after 4 hours, it just goes to warm, and I will leave it there for 24, maybe 36 hours. I like my broth somewhere in between 24 to 36 hours. That's it. Then I'm gonna strain the liquid through a colander to keep the bones separate, and again, have that luscious broth that's healing and nutritious. All right, once it's simmered for 2 hours, you're gonna have this lovely broth over the ham hocks, which has made our house smell wonderful right now. And you just wanna strain it out. So I'll show you here, I have a colander set in a large pot there. And pour it in there to let the broth strain through. And you've got all those meaty ham hocks, or both of them I should say, and I just pick them up with my tongs, and I'm going to put them on a baking sheet right here. And woo, this one, the meat is really falling off the bones, so there you go. Then this is actually going to go in the oven on 425 degrees and roast for about 20 minutes. Then you just set your strainer over here. That'll go out to the chickens later. I'm going to pour my broth back into the pan I used, stock pot or any saucepan. And we're gonna put it back on the stove and make a nice gravy. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is take my couple tablespoons of flour or arrowroot powder if you want it to be paleo and completely grain-free. I'm gonna make a little bit of a roux with it. So I just put it in some of the broth into the flour and stir it up, make sure there's no lumps in there. All right, and then you'll just pour your roux into the broth and stir it in there, and it will make the gravy a little thicker. And lastly, the recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of hard cider. I like to pour it in right at this point. And just keep whisking it and make sure there's no lumps in there. You also want to taste it at this point. I've determined mine needs about another maybe teaspoon of salt. So I'll whisk that in. All right, once they've roasted for 20 to 30 minutes, just bring them out. I've got them on my cutting board. Oh my gosh, the meat is just falling off there. And this is where we'll shred the meat off. Like I said before, there is a layer of fat here, but the meat just falls right off the fat. So you can easily separate the meat from the fat and see all that wonderful pork, smoked pork meat. So these ham hocks have been smoked, but not salted or anything. So as I shred it, I'm going to put some of it on our serving plate. And there's a few more spices that go on the top. I'm going to sprinkle the cumin right on the top. And a little bit of parsley. This is just some grated lemon zest. And lastly, my favorite part, which is the gravy, because you know I'm a sauce person, just pour that right over the top. And if you want, my husband would love this served with mashed potatoes to soak up the sauce, or rice, or I would just serve it with a side of steamed vegetables all over that. So, all right, so there you have it, this beautiful stewed ham hock recipe. Now it's your turn. Scroll down down below this video into the comment section and tell me if you are going to come out and get some ham hocks and pig's feet and what you're going to do with them. What recipe will you try? This one, or do you have an old-fashioned recipe you remember from your childhood? I hope you'll venture out and try other parts of the pig than what you're used to. The pig's feet and the ham hocks are a great place to start. So I'll see you in the farm store soon. Thank you.